Welcome back to Infinite Abundance. How many times have you missed out on great opportunities for money or success simply because you overthought things and doubted your own decisions? Today we enter Chapter 8 of the game of life and how to play it, intuition or guidance. Florence Scovel Shinn reveals that the human intellect is limited, but your intuition is the direct line to the mastermind of the universe. This chapter is fascinating because it addresses analysis, paralysis, and overthinking. Florence teaches us that the intellect often misleads us, but intuition, that gut feeling, or quiet voice, is our infallible radar connected to infinite intelligence. Get ready to quiet the mental noise, release the confusion, and learn to listen to that quiet voice that will tell you exactly what your next step toward wealth is. Relax your mind, and let's begin.
There is nothing too great to accomplish for the person who knows the power of their word and who follows their intuitive leads. By the word, we start unseen forces into action and can rebuild our bodies or remold our affairs. It is therefore of the utmost importance to choose the right words, and the student carefully selects the affirmation they wish to catapult into the invisible. They know that God is their supply, that there is a supply for every demand, and that the spoken word releases the supply. Ask, and you shall receive. We must make the first move. Draw near to God, and He will draw near to you. I have often been asked just how to make a demonstration. I reply, speak the word and then do not do anything until you get a definite lead. Demand the lead saying, Infinite Spirit, reveal to me the way. Let me know if there is anything for me to do. The answer will come through intuition or a hunch, a chance remark from someone or a passage in a book, and so on. The answers are sometimes quite startling in their exactness. For example, a woman desired a large sum of money. She spoke the words, Infinite Spirit, open the way for my immediate supply. Let all that is mine by divine right now reach me in great avalanches of abundance. Then she added, give me a definite lead. Let me know if there is anything for me to do. The thought came quickly. Give a certain friend who had helped her spiritually $100. She told her friend who said, wait and get another lead before giving it. So she waited and that day met a woman who said to her, I gave someone $1 today. It was just as much for me as it would be for you to give someone 100. This was indeed an unmistakable lead, so she knew she was right in giving the $100. It was a gift, which proved to be a great investment, for shortly after that, a large sum of money came to her in a remarkable way. Giving opens the way for receiving. In order to create activity in finances, one should give. Tithing, or giving 1/10 of one's income, is an old custom and is sure to bring increase. Many of the wealthiest people in this country have been tithers, and I have never known it to fail as an investment. The 10th part goes forth and returns blessed and multiplied. But the gift or tithe must be given with love and cheerfulness, for God loves a cheerful giver. Bills should be paid cheerfully. All money should be sent forth fearlessly and with a blessing. This attitude of mind makes us masters of money. It is ours to obey, and our spoken word then opens vast reservoirs of wealth. We limit our supply by our own limited vision. Sometimes the student has a great realization of wealth but is afraid to act. The vision and action must go hand in hand, as in the case of the man who bought the fur-lined overcoat. A woman came to me asking me to speak the word for a position. So I demanded, Infinite Spirit, open the way for this woman's right position. Never ask for just a position. Ask for the right position, the place already planned in divine mind, as it is the only one that will give satisfaction. I then gave thanks that she had already received it and that it would manifest quickly. Very soon she had 3 positions offered her, 2 in New York and 1 in Palm Beach, and she did not know which to choose. I said, ask for a definite lead. The time was almost up and she was still undecided when one day she telephoned. When I woke up this morning, I could smell Palm Beach. She had been there before and knew its balmy fragrance. I replied, "Well, if you can smell Palm Beach from here, it is certainly your lead." She accepted the position and it proved to be a great success. Often one's lead comes at an unexpected time. One day I was walking down the street when I suddenly felt a strong urge to go to a certain bakery, a block or two away. The reasoning mind resisted, arguing there is nothing there that you want. However, I had learned not to reason, so I went to the bakery, looked at everything, and there was certainly nothing there that I wanted. But coming out, I encountered a woman I had thought of often and who was in great need of the help which I could give her. So often, we go for one thing and find another. Intuition is a spiritual faculty and does not explain but simply points the way. A person often receives a lead during a treatment. The idea that comes may seem quite irrelevant, but some of God's leadings are mysterious. In the class one day, I was treating that each individual would receive a definite lead. A woman came to me afterward and said, "While you were treating, I got the hunch to take my furniture out of storage and get an apartment." The woman had come to be treated for health. I told her I knew in getting a home of her own, her health would improve, and I added, "I believe your trouble, which is a congestion, has come from having things stored away. Congestion of things causes congestion in the body. You have violated the law of use and your body is paying the penalty." So I gave thanks that divine order was established in her mind, body, and affairs.
Let's pause for a moment of wisdom. What Florence calls intuition isn't magic, it's pure physics. In the quantum realm, all possible futures already exist. Your analytical brain, burdened with fears and memories of the past, can't see those futures, but your intuition can. That sudden gut feeling or that idea that comes out of nowhere is your nervous system tuning into the exact frequency of the solution you asked for. When you force a decision out of fear, you block it. When you relax and ask for divine guidance, the answer comes on its own. Listen to your body. Let's continue.
People little dream of how their affairs react on the body. There is a mental correspondence for every disease. A person might receive instantaneous healing through the realization of their body being a perfect idea in divine mind, and therefore whole and perfect. But if they continue their destructive thinking, hoarding, hating, fearing, condemning, the disease will return. Jesus Christ knew that all sickness came from sin, but admonished the leper after the healing to go and sin no more, so that nothing worse would happen to him. So our soul, or subconscious mind, must be washed whiter than snow for permanent healing. And the metaphysician is always delving deep for the correspondence. Jesus Christ said, "Condemn not, so that you will not be condemned. Judge not, lest you be judged." Many people have attracted disease and unhappiness through condemnation of others. What we condemn in others, we attract to ourselves. For example, a friend came to me in anger and distress because her husband had deserted her for another woman. She condemned the other woman and said continually, she knew he was a married man and had no right to accept his attentions. I replied, "Stop condemning the woman, bless her, and be through with the situation. Otherwise, you are attracting the same thing to yourself." She was deaf to my words and a year or two later became deeply interested in a married man herself. We pick up a live wire whenever we criticize or condemn, and we can expect a shock. Indecision is a stumbling block in many a pathway. In order to overcome it, make the statement repeatedly. I am always under direct inspiration. I make right decisions quickly. These words impress the subconscious, and soon you find yourself awake and alert, making your right moves without hesitation. I have found it destructive to look to the psychic plane for guidance, as it is the plane of many minds and not the one mind. As we open our minds to subjectivity, we become a target for destructive forces. The psychic plane is the result of human mortal thought and is on the plane of opposites. We may receive either good or bad messages. The science of numbers and the reading of horoscopes keep people down on the mental or mortal plane, for they deal only with the karmic path. I know of a man who should have been dead years ago according to his horoscope, but he is alive and a leader of one of the biggest movements in this country for the uplift of humanity. It takes a very strong mind to neutralize a prophecy of evil. The student should declare, "Every false prophecy shall fade away. Every plan my Father in heaven has not planned shall be dissolved and dissipated. The divine idea now comes to pass." However, if any good message has ever been given to you of coming happiness or wealth, harbor and expect it, and it will manifest sooner or later through the law of expectancy. Our human will should be used to back the universal will. I will that the will of God be done. It is God's will to give everyone the righteous desires of their heart, and our personal will should be used simply to hold the perfect vision without wavering. The prodigal son said, "I will arise and go to my father." It is indeed often an effort of the will to leave behind the worthless husks and low standards of mortal thinking. It is so much easier for the average person to choose fear over faith. Therefore, maintaining faith requires a conscious effort of the will. As we become spiritually awakened, we recognize that any external lack of harmony is the direct reflection of mental discord. If a person stumbles or falls, they can be sure they are first stumbling or falling in consciousness. One day, a student was walking along the street condemning someone in her thoughts. She was saying mentally, "That woman is the most disagreeable woman on earth," when suddenly 3 Boy Scouts rushed around the corner and almost knocked her over. She did not condemn the Boy Scouts, but immediately called on the law of forgiveness and saluted the divinity in the woman. Wisdom's ways are ways of pleasantness, and all her paths are peace. When you have made your demands upon the universal, you must be ready for surprises. Everything may seem to be going wrong when, in reality, it is going perfectly right. For example, a woman was told that there is no loss in divine mind. Therefore, she could not lose anything that belonged to her. Anything lost would either be returned or she would receive its exact equivalent. Several years previously, she had lost $2,000. She had loaned the money to a relative during her lifetime, but the relative had died, leaving no mention of it in her will. The woman was resentful and angry, and since she had no written statement of the transaction, she never received the money. So, she determined to deny the loss and collect the $2,000 directly from the Bank of the Universal. She had to begin by forgiving the woman, as resentment and unforgiveness closed the doors of this wonderful bank. She made this statement, "I deny loss. There is no loss in divine mind. Therefore, I cannot lose the $2,000 which belong to me by divine right." As one door shuts, another door opens. She was living in an apartment building that was for sale, and in her lease was a clause stating that if the building were sold, the tenants would be required to move out within 90 days. Suddenly, the landlord broke the leases and raised the rent. Again, injustice seemed to block her path, but this time she was undisturbed. She blessed the landlord and said, "As the rent has been raised, it means that I'll be that much richer, for God is my supply." New leases were made out for the increased rent, but by some divine mistake, the 90-day clause had been forgotten. Soon after, the landlord had an opportunity to sell the building. On account of the mistake in the new leases, the tenants held possession for another full year. The agent offered each tenant $200 if they would vacate. Several families moved, 3 remained, including this woman. A month or 2 passed, and the agent appeared again. This time he said to the woman, "Will you break your lease for the sum of $1,500? It flashed upon her. Here comes the $2,000. She remembered having said to friends in the building, "We will all act together if anything more is said about leaving." So her intuitive lead was to consult her friends. These friends said, "Well, if they have offered you $1,500, they will certainly give you $2,000. And so she received a check for $2,000 just for giving up the apartment. It was certainly a remarkable working of the law, and the apparent injustice was merely opening the way for her manifestation. It proved that there is no true loss, and when we take our spiritual stand, we collect all that is ours from this great reservoir of good. I will restore to you the years the locusts have eaten. The locusts are the doubts, fears, resentments, and regrets of limited mortal thinking. These adverse thoughts alone rob us, for no one gives to us but ourselves, and no one takes away from us but ourselves. We are here to prove the divine and to bear witness to the truth, and we can only prove it by bringing plenty out of lack and justice out of injustice. Test me now in this, says the Lord, and see if I will not open the windows of heaven for you and pour out a blessing so great that there will not be room enough to receive it.
What a liberating revelation. From today onward, you no longer have to struggle to predict the future. Simply ask for guidance and take the step when you feel that inner certainty. If you're ready to stop doubting and start trusting your inner compass, seal this reprogramming by writing in the comments, "I am divinely guided." Support this channel by liking, subscribing to Infinite Abundance, and turning on notifications. On the end screen, you'll find Chapter 9, Perfect Self-Expression, where we'll discover how to find your true purpose and monetize your natural talents. Go there right now.